Paul, thank you so much for joining me for a few minutes to talk Onside Major League Soccer. I had a lot of fun with the series. Big soccer fan, so it was great to see. We know that you've worked on a couple of other sports series. You talk to me about sports stories and how you approach them because it's not like you have a script, and then a lot of times those stories really write themselves.
Yeah, I listen. I'm a huge sports fan, kind of first and foremost, and I think that even just as a even if you just watch sport as sport, the amount of incredible moments that it throws up, the underdog story, the whatever it is, and I think that just translates itself into kind of film and entertainment, and I as a kid, not only did I love sport, I love sports movies. Rocky was, I used to watch Rocky on a loop. I used to, you know anything, Chariots of Fire, all that kind of stuff. So for me, it was like it was the merging of my two favorite things, which are sport and and film and TV, and I what I love about it is that you can never. You can never fail to be surprised by the storylines that present themselves in sport. So it's a great place for us to be. It's a great place for us to operate. And I'm really proud of some of the work that we've done. And this series is no exception.
So how long was this in development for Apple TV Plus? Because there's some specific storylines I'm really curious to learn about when you found out about them versus how long you guys were planning to do this.
We've been planning it a long time. We'd been speaking to the MLS for a while, and then I think it was when they kind of entered into their relationship with Apple that the reality of making this show sort of you know became more of a reality. We'd worked with Apple on a couple of other shows, so we had a good relationship with those guys. We had been in contact with the MLS for a while, and once that bigger relationship was cemented, and it just made sense for everybody, and it also, because there was one rights holder with one broadcaster globally, it just made it much easier for us to access the clubs and access the players and really dive in. And the MLS were great; they were great partners on it, and helped us with introductions to the club, and helped explain to the club, why this was a positive thing for them to kind of participate in. And so yeah, it was just really, the genesis of it was quite long, but then there's only so much you can kind of develop on this before the real events kind of take over. You can go into a season thinking about what the storylines could be, and thinking about, okay, who are going to be the characters and who's going to do well. But then, you know, as we said at the beginning, the great thing about sport is that the sport takes over, and the sport then starts to throw up stories that you're like, dang, man, that needs to be in the show. Or, I didn't even think about that story. Whether it was the emergence of Kevin Sullivan, whether it was like, Atlanta suddenly going from rock bottom to this fairy tale run to the playoffs, and beating into Miami in the playoffs, whether it was Galaxy. If you'd have asked me at the start of the season, did I think that Galaxy would win the MLS Cup? Probably not. But, suddenly they had the momentum going into the playoffs. So yeah, it just, you can think about it, and you can talk about these shows for a long, long time. But then there just comes a point where you're making it, and almost the events are driving your narrative, and driving what the episodes that you end up with.
I asked because you enter the series and also that season with kind of that powerhouse and that popularity of Inter Miami, which I wonder is like how far in as you're developing the series did you realize how much of a bigger story that just that alone, because you could argue that could almost be its own series. How
Yeah,
far along did you guys realize, oh shoot, we're gonna have quite a bit right here with Messi, with all those other players?
yeah, yeah. No, it's I think, I mean, we wanted to start with a bang.
Right.
We wanted to start, and it was just a unique opportunity. We had no say in the fixtures. And suddenly it was like, well, LA Miami is the first, they're playing each other on the opening weekend, and we were like, it's a great opportunity for us to showcase the historically the biggest brand in the MLS, which is Galaxy, and that history of Beckham and Gerrard and Ibrahimovic and Robbie Keane and all those guys, and the multiple titles, but in the doldrums a little bit. And then on the other side, and you've got that West Coast, East Coast, and you've got Miami and the sexiness of Miami and bringing in one of the best players in the world, and really, and also, the Beckham kind of effect. So it felt for us a very natural place to start the show. My expectation probably was that, hey, listen, come November, December, we're going to be looking at a scenario where Miami are probably going to be winning the whole thing, and so how are we going to kind of deal with that through the season? And then, but the opposite was true. We ended up in it where they get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, and Galaxy win. But it felt like it was a gift to start there, because you can start with you start with LA, Miami, it's sexy. You start with Beckham, there's Messi, there's a history of kind of the Galaxy. So it was a very, very natural place for us to start the series, I think.
Yeah, that was the crazy part about it was that that's where you start. And like you said, the history of what Beckham meant to the MLS. I still have a Galaxy Beckham jersey that I bought because I was so excited, despite the fact that I'm from the Bay Area, so I've always rooted for the Earthquakes and for the Clash before then. So it's kind of not great that I had it, but it was such an event that I had it. Only for you to go through your series and then find out that near the end of that season, the Galaxy were the ones on top. I was like, that's crazy because you can't tell the players, the teams to do a certain thing, but somehow naturally, throughout the series we see some of the big rivalries. I love the New York episode just because of I know how like rabid fan bases can be, and you get to see that one. Then there's Cincinnati and I forgot the other team.
Columbus.
Yes, Columbus. And you see the passion of the fans, and I think that what you guys did is such a big service to MLS and what more people need to see in general because I am a huge advocate for it.
That's great to hear. No, thank you. I think listen, we've James, who I run Box to Box Films with, we've always we've always said we're incredibly lucky producers. We seem to just have a knack for being at the right place at the right time sometimes, and we've had it on all of our. If I look back on all the shows that we've done, when we made Make or Break for Apple, which was about surfing, we happened to be with a 50-year-old Kelly Slater where he won Pipeline, where you could have never have guessed that that was going to happen. You know, we made a tennis show, and Nick Kyrgios was one of our main characters, and he had the greatest season he'd ever had. And so I think I don't know what it is, but I do think there's an element sometimes that everyone always thinks that having cameras around, kind of may have a negative effect on performance. I think for some athletes and some teams, having cameras around has a positive impact on performance. It gives them an additional goal or an additional pressure. And I made the Ronaldo film, and he won back-to-back Ballon d'Ors over the course of us filming that. Listen, I don't take any credit for that, but I think it was like I think he looked at it and he was like, I don't want to make a film where I crap out. I want to make a film where I win the Ballon d'Or again. So I think some players and some teams just respond to that additional pressure, and I think it's great for us to be able to see it.
Yeah, and it's so great to watch. And I think that's what I enjoy the most about it is just watching the stories develop naturally and then you guys doing a fantastic job at capturing it and editing it. So Paul, thank you so much for your time. It was really nice to chat with you. Congrats on the series, and I hope everybody takes a gander and watches it on Apple TV Plus.
Great, thanks, man.
Thanks.